Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 14th session of Pondering of Surah Al-Kahf. We said that Surah Al-Kahf has four main stories and that learning these stories and pondering upon their meaning saves the person who does that from the fitna of the Dajjal, or the test of being deluded by the Dajjal. The first story was the one about the fellows of the cave who fled from religious persecution in order to protect their relationship with Allah. And people do fail in this test in all eras. Many people compromise their religious values to integrate in un-Islamic atmosphere. So it is good to integrate in the space that doesn't collide with the religious values within your society. So this story was very important for that. The second story is the story of the two fellows, or the story of the two gardens. And the one who ponders upon its meanings is protected, or he protects himself or herself from falling into the fitna of wealth, the test of being wealthy. The third story is the one about Moses and the righteous servant of Allah, whom he went with to learn from him knowledge and wisdom. And this story, pondering this story, protects its reader from failing the test of knowledge. Many people take science and take knowledge as an idol or an object of worship. And it makes the human being believe that above every knowledgeable person, there is an all-knowing being. There is Allah, the all-knowing. And that if one knew the unseen, or if one knew the unknown, he or she would definitely choose reality. Many people have left the religion after being infatuated with their knowledge, and they forgot that God is the source of all knowledge. So this story saves from that. And among those people is Qarun. In Surah Al-Qasas, he spoke about his wealth, saying, إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. He said about his wealth, indeed it was only brought to me on account of knowledge I possess. So I got that because I'm knowledgeable, because I'm talented, because I'm good, because I'm a good planner. And he forgot to thank Allah. He forgot that all wealth came to him, of course, because one of the things is that he is a good planner, but also without the grace of Allah, he could have never got that. The fourth story and the last one in this surah is the story of Zil Qarnayn, or literally it means the one with the two horns. It is the story which protects its ponderer from failing the test of power and authority. And we will start this story now. Bismillah. Read with me ayah number 83. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم ويسألونك عن ذي القرنين قل سأتلو عليكم منه ذكرا. Read 83. And they ask you about Dhul Qarnayn. Say, I will read for you an account of him as a reminder. I forgot to remind you to open Bridges translation. So this should be in page number, ayah number 83 will be in page number 201. Page 201. So, ayah number 83 says, and they ask you about Dhul Qarnayn, say, I will read for you an account of him as a reminder. The pagans of the tribe of Quraysh took a few questions from the Jews to use to expose Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and prove to people that he was an impostor, not a real prophet. And among these questions was one about the true story of a man who traveled to the east and to the west. So Allah revealed the story of Zil Qarnayn to Prophet Muhammad as an answer to this question. Number one, in Arabic, we say Dhul Qarnayn when he is the subject of the sentence, but we say Zil Qarnayn when he is the object of the sentence, or in other cases. So don't get confused when you hear Dhul Qarnayn or Zil Qarnayn. Sometimes it's at the end he's the same person. Who is Zil Qarnayn? It is said that he is one of the Yemeni kings whom their names used to start by Dhu or Thi, like Dhu Yazan, Dhu Riyash, Dhu Ridan, Dhi Nawas. Mostly they were the kings of the Himyarite or Sabian kingdoms of Yemen. Dhul Qarnayn literally means the one with the two horns in Arabic. There's another also possibility. It may also be the name that he became famous with, or the nickname that he became famous with due to the shape of his helmet. So maybe his helmet had two horns and that's why he was known like that. So he doesn't necessarily have to be a Yemenite king whom their names used to start with Dhu or Thi. There's also a third possibility that he was called so because of his haircut, especially that in Arabic, qarn is a hair strand and qarnayn means two hair strands. There's also a fourth possibility. It is also said that he was called so because he reached the furthest point in the east and the furthest point in the west, and the Arabs say the horn of the sun. So the one with the two horns means the one who have reached the furthest east and the furthest west, which means where the sun sets and when the sun rises. Where the sun sets and where the sun rises. The question is, did God tell us who he is exactly? Especially in this surah, God doesn't give unimportant details. The surah disregarded the names and the place and the number of the youngsters who slept in the cave. And the surah also disregarded the names and the place of the two fellows in the second story of the two gardens. And also it disregarded the name and the background of the righteous servant in the story of Moses. We really don't know actually even where is the junction of the two seas. Which one exactly? This is meant so that these stories would become general parables suitable for all times and for all people. The Quran describes Dhul Qarnayn as a brave chief commander, a just ruler, and a staunch believer, so that his story would become an example for everyone in authority until the end of time. Read ayah number 83 with me again. And they ask you about Dhul Qarnayn. Say, I will read for you an account of him as a reminder. I will just read for you an account of his story, not everything in details. Read 84 and 85. إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. Indeed, we empowered him in the land and brought him all kinds of means. So he pursued a certain course. God made him a powerful and a capable decision maker. He bestowed upon him everything needed for becoming a successful ruler. He bestowed upon him wealth. manpower, intelligence, knowledge, wisdom, justice, piety. And based on that, he decided to act. فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. So he pursued a certain course. Read 85 and 86 with me. حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمئة ووجد عندها قوما قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا. So he pursued a certain course until when he had reached the setting of the sun, he found it setting in a murky spring and found a people in its vicinity. We said, O Dhul Qarnayn, you may either punish or else treat them kindly. He went towards the west and he reached the furthest point on the land. It was probably the estuary of a river, or as they say, the river mouth, where a river ends in the sea or in the ocean. And usually armies in ancient times used to move by the banks of rivers so that they can guarantee a source of water. And at the estuaries of rivers, there are muddy ponds where the water is murky. There is a qira'ah that says, so when he reached the furthest point in the land, he found the sun setting in the waters, murky waters. It says actually hot water, exactly here in page 201 we said in a hot spring. So there is a qira'ah that says that the water was hot and a qira'ah that says that the water was murky. So it was hot, murky water. And by the way, Islamophobes use this ayah to attack Islam by saying that it contradicts science, because science discovered that the sun never sets. However, if the sun sets somewhere, it rises somewhere else. So the sun really never sets. However, those people accept authors and poets saying that they saw the sun diving slowly in the sea. Then they even show admiration of such romantic expressions. And I Googled it and I got 13 million results, like sun dips in the ocean, setting sun skims the ocean. No one was silly enough to say that this is unscientific. Of course it is unscientific, but that's only a problem if it is a book of science, not a book describing a beautiful scenery. The Quran is describing what Dhul Qarnayn perceived, but it never said the sun sets in the ocean as a matter of fact. Okay? Anyway, the Quran says in ayah 86 that he found a people at its vicinity. 86, and found a people in its vicinity. We said, O Dhul Qarnayn, you may either punish or else treat them kindly. Dhul Qarnayn was not a prophet. He did not receive revelation. So when God says, we said, O Dhul Qarnayn, you may either punish or else treat them kindly, it means that Allah gave him the ability to do either thing. He had two options to choose from in dealing with those people. This is his fitna. This is his test. Read 86. إِمَّا أَن تُعَذِّبَ وَإِمَّا أَن تَتَّخِذَ فِيهِمْ حُسْنًا. You may either punish or else treat them kindly. What do you think his choice was? As a righteous believer, I can hear some of you saying he will treat them kindly. Read 87 and 88. قال أما من ظلم فسوف نعذبه ثم يرد إلى ربه فيعذبه عذابا نكرا وَأَمَّا مَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلَهُ جَزَاءً الْحُسْنَى وَسَنَقُولُ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا يُسْرًا. He said, as for the one who has committed injustices, we will punish him, then he will be returned to his Lord, and he will punish him with a dreadful punishment. But as for the one who has attained faith and has acted righteously, then for him is the excellent reward as repayment, and we will speak to him with ease regarding our command. His choice was justice. The criminal who transgresses against people and eats their wealth will be punished by Dhul Qarnayn according to God's rulings in this life, in the life of this world. And when he returns to his Creator, he will be punished by him as well. However, the believer who acts righteously will receive a reward, and not silently, no, in a ceremony, and he will be honored publicly. Read it in ayah number 88. وَسَنَقُولُ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا يُسْرًا. Then for him is the excellent reward as repayment, and we will speak to him with ease regarding our command, which means he will be honored publicly. Therefore, his approach in ruling is to honor the good and the honest, and at the same time to punish the transgressors and the criminals. He did not abuse his power or act unjustly. That's why he's an example of a ruler who passed the test of authority. Do you see how pondering these signs of the Quran can protect from the test of authority? Read ayah number 89 and 90. ثم أتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدها تطلع على قوم لم نجد لهم من دونها سترا. Then he pursued a course until when he reached the rising of the sun, he found it rising on a people for whom we had provided no shelter from it. Which means that he took the other way and went towards the east. And he reached the furthest point in the land towards the east. And there he found a people who have no shelter from the sun. Either they were undressed and they do not cover much of their bodies, or that they had unroofed houses, or the area where they lived was plain and did not have much trees or mountains, so they were exposed to the sun. We don't really have a solid fact about why Allah described them like that they did not have shelter from the sun. But the question remains, how did Dhul Qarnayn treat them? Read ayah number 91. كَذَلِكَ وَقَدْ أَحَطْنَا بِمَا لَدَيْهِ خُبْرًا. So it was, and surely we encompassed what he had with knowledge. He did exactly the same thing that he did before in the West. Again, he punished transgressors and culprits, and he honored and was nice to the good and the righteous. Read 92. ثُمَّ أَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. Then he pursued a course. After establishing justice in the east and in the west, he went in a different direction. Read 93. Probably he went up north. حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. Until when he reached the point separating the two barriers, he found beside them a people who could barely comprehend any word. So he reached two high mountains, and there he found an uncivilized people who had trouble, and he had trouble communicating with them. Read 94. قالوا يا ذا القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا. They said, O Dhul Qarnayn, Gog and Magog are corrupting the land, so can we make for you a tribute on condition that you build a barrier between us and them? Gog and Magog are human beings, two tribes, who were described in the Sunnah as people who have what we call today Far Asia features, round faces, small eyes, etc. The people living in this area where he went by the two mountains complained to him that Gog and Magog are raiding them. They said that they raid them and spread corruption in the land, which means that they steal and kidnap and kill and so on. Read the last part of ayah number 94. So can we make for you a tribute on condition that you build a barrier between us and them? They offered to pay him for building a dam between them. Why did they ask him to do that? Why didn't they do it themselves? Because they saw that he is advanced, civilized, and powerful. He has the means to do that. So read ayah number 95. قال ما مكني فيه ربي خير فأعينوني بقوة أجعل بينكم وبينهم ردما. He said, what my Lord has empowered me with is better than your tribute, better than your money. Just assist me with manpower and I will set a barricade between you and them. So he is not bragging. He's not bragging with his power. Rather, he remembers Allah's bounty and grace upon him. What my Lord has empowered me with is better. He decided to build the dam for them for free. He wanted to save all his reward and get it all from Allah, because if you get paid for something in this life, then a part of your reward you got it in this life and a part in the hereafter, which is okay. But some people they like to, for certain deeds, to save 100% of the reward for the hereafter. He decided that this would be his act of charity at that in this area. All he asked from them is manpower. Just assist me with manpower, and I will set a barricade between you and them. Read 96. آتوني زبر الحديد حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين قال انفخوا حتى إذا جعله نارا قال آتوني أفرغ عليه قطرا. Bring me blocks of iron. Then when he had leveled up between the two cliffs, he said, blow. And having turned it into a fire, he said, bring me tar to pour over it. He commanded them to put blocks of iron over each other until he leveled up between the two mountains, and then he lit a huge fire and made people blow air on it. Then he poured melted brass over the iron to make a very strong alloy. Then he covered it with tar so it became slippery and penetratable. Read ayah number 97. فَمَا اسْطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ وَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقْبًا. So neither could they climb it, nor could they penetrate it. Did he brag with his achievement? Leaders today keep praising themselves, bragging with their achievements. Read ayah number 98. قال هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكاء وكان وعد ربي حقا. He said, this is a mercy from my Lord, but when the promise of my Lord comes true, he will turn it into a flat surface, and the promise of my Lord has always been true. A very humble ruler, an achiever, and at the same time humble. Achiever and humble, that's the combination of Dhul Qarnayn. He said, by the grace of my Lord I was able to build this dam. Not I build the dam, since I came everything is better, I will make your country great again. No. He said, my Lord is doing that. read with me. But when the promise of my Lord comes true, he will turn it into a flat surface. He didn't say that this will stay until the end of time. And no. In another qira'ah, this ayah says, dakka, not dakka. Dakka means that one day it will become rubble. So it's an amazing combination. He is a very successful ruler and at the same time just and humble. There are so many rulers who are a disgrace for their countries and they are about to explode from arrogance. Dhul Qarnayn had all resources and reasons to be successful. At the same time, he always referred his success to Allah's grace. He never acted unjustly. He never acted arrogantly. He never acted unjustly in the East or in the West, so that was his way of ruling. He applied God's legislation. He established justice. He made people feel secure. He secured the weak from thuggery. He did not enslave peaceful people. This is how Muslims acted when they conquered many dynasties. They did not mistreat people or steal their resources. Mecca and Medina ruled nearly half of the known world for centuries, and they stayed the poorest two cities on earth until very recently when petroleum was discovered. While Europe sucked the sweat and blood of the peoples of Africa and Asia, and at the end, after independence, they left them poor and undeveloped. Do you see how this surah, the cave, can benefit those who ponder upon it? At the end, I ask Allah, O Allah, we ask you your love and the love of whom you love and the love of every deed that gets us closer to your love. O Allah, if you grant us what we love, make it an empowerment for us to do what you love. And if you ever deprive us from what we love, then let it be the things that could have kept us busy from doing what you love. O Allah, make your love dearer to our hearts than our families, our wealth, and the cool water on thirst. O Allah, we ask you to love us and to let your angels love us and to let your prophets and messengers love us and to let your righteous servants love us. O Allah, allow us to be among those who love you and love your angels and love your prophets and love your messengers and love your righteous servants. O Allah, with your love, give life to our hearts and let us be as you love us to be. O Allah, let us love you from all our hearts and please you with all our might and let all our love be for you. O Allah, let all our striving be to please you. O Allah, let the Qur'an be the spring of our hearts and the enlightenment of our minds and the banisher of our sadness and the reliever of our distress. O Allah, we seek your protection from anxiety and sorrow. We seek your protection from helplessness and laziness. We seek your protection from cowardice and miserliness. We seek your protection from the burden of debts and the tyranny of man. We seek your protection from disbelief and poverty. We seek your protection from the punishment of the grave. I ask Allah to add the reward of this tadabbur session to my records and the records of everyone who attended it. Wassalamu alaikum, and see you inshallah in the next session. Next session will be the last session of Surah Al-Kahf, inshallah.